Hello, everybody. This is Romantic or Row, making a quick class on how to transplant one head from a specific race and gender into another. This is, I want to think that this is going to cover all of the basics, so you might need to adjust a couple of things based on what race, what gender, and into what other race or what other gender you are going into. But I am going to do Ellison male into Midlander. Um, Sorry, the other way around, from Midlander into Ellison male. This is going to be, I already made a test for um, across genders from Midlander male to Ellison female, and it is the same process. Uh, again, different phases might require some adjustments of your own, so keep that in mind. I'm going to cover the basics of how to do it in case that you don't have any experience or, well, much experience with modding, but I do recommend to more or less be familiarized with Blender a little bit and how Textile works, just so you are not, struggling. But if you have issues, of course, you can messages here in the Modding 101 server and we'll help you figure it out. So, first things first, you want to export the FBX of whatever you are going to export. So, I'm going to do again Ellison Mail and Midlander Mail as well. Um, if you want to make things easier for you when it comes to looking for the file, you can go into this little folder over here, and it will open the exact folder where it is. So you can copy that address, and that way when you want to import into Blender the FBX, you can just paste the address and it will be a little faster. Um, then you do the same with the other head that you are interested in. Um, it might take a couple seconds to save it, but mine was already exported from before. So you do the same thing. You bring it into your Blender file, and um, you should be already familiarized with how to navigate Blender, because if not, it's going to be like another more or less like 20 minutes that you will need to learn how to do it. All right, so as you can see, I have the heads over here. In order to work with them, I'm going to go into the viewport shading. You can see that the faces are kind of like semi-transparent, so we're going to click on the main piece, the head, go into the material properties that looks like this little, like a beach ball, and then you go into the settings and change the alpha blend into alpha clip. You do the same thing with the other head, and we don't really need the bones. The bones are going to be on the way, so in order to remove them or make them invisible, you go to the overlay section here, and in objects you uncheck bones. So now we can work with this a little bit better. Now, this is completely optional, of course. I tend to name things to make it easier. So I'm going just to name Ellison here and Meaty here. Um, I'm going to, of course, I am moving the Midlander um, into this particular Ellison phase. So I will open my Midlander um, options here, and I'm going to select everything. You need to make sure that from mesh 1 to mesh 2, everything is selected. You can do that by pressing down on shift and clicking the last of the meshes, and that way you're going to select all of the things. And then we're going to press G, which allows us to move things, but without moving anything yet, we're then going to press Z so we can move it on an axis. So we're going to put it in a way that is like more or less on the same height, that it looks as if it's like, particularly the neck, that's what you are looking for. You want to make sure that the neck is on it. Um, Now, once you've done this, it will be different depending on what head you have used, of course. If you're changing from one gender to another, you will probably see more of a discrepancy, right? Because the female heads are slightly smaller, so you might need to make some additional adjustments in a moment. This might be a little easier if you're using the wireframe option and with the X-ray toggled on. So that way, when we select things, it becomes a little bit easier to see the differences and where things starts and where they end. So here's the thing to keep in mind. The neck is the most important part of this process because it needs to be um, completely and perfectly aligned so it doesn't look broken in the as a mod. However, there's also you have to keep in mind the head as well. um, this is a little tricky because depending on how you adjust the top of the head, you are going to, um, well, you're going to have to decide what to do when it comes to hair. What do I mean by this? If you just right now, for example, I say like, you know what, I want the head to be to perfectly match the skull of the Ellison because that way the hair is going to fit as well. If I want to do that, then I'm going to access the proportional editing here, the little dot that is here, and I'm going to press G, and then I'm going to use the scroll wheel all the way up to make this circle become smaller so I can see it and use it. If you don't see the circle, it's probably because it's too big. So if you cannot see it, just scroll back and press G again, and you will be able to see it easier, and then you can make it bigger or smaller. So this is how you could, by making it a certain size, you could like try to adjust the skull so it's a little bit closer to the original uh, uh, shape, and that might, I say might, make it compatible with the different hairs that you want to use. Uh, Keep in mind, I am saying might because it's a very tricky thing to align. So even if you are like, okay, I think I got it, I think I have the right shape and everything, it might clip, so try to keep that in mind because depending on how much you adjust and move things, you might deform the shape of the head. So if you don't want to risk that, well, you don't have to, but that means that you will have whatever hair you want to use, you will probably have to fit it to the specific head that you have now, because it's going to be different. So again, two options. You shape the head just like the previous head, very slowly and very carefully so you don't deform the actual shape of the face, and see if maybe that works, because it might not. Or you leave it as is, you don't really bother messing with the top of the head, but then you make sure that whatever hair you want to use is fitted correctly on the head, which is, its own mod, of course. Like it would require um, customized hair every time. So whatever you prefer. I made an approximation, to the skull, but I know that it's likely it might still clip. So I might need to make some adjustments later. But the most important part, the top is not as important as the neck is. If you want to make sure that it's properly placed, we're going to go into edit mode again. Remember that you can do this either here on top, or you can just press the tab key. So using this, we're going to turn off the proportional editing, and we're going to turn up the snap tool, this little magnet over here. So we open it and we tell them that we want to snap into the closest vertex. Now that you've done this, when you click vertex, you can just press G and move the vertex into the the LSN um, body, or the Ellison head, and you're going to move every single vertex to the closest one. So just adjusting based on the shape of the other. You might find, for example, these are two vertex on top of on top of the other. So just make both of them move where you want them to. Um, this is obviously going to be different levels of difficulty. I did it with a different head as an experiment before, and it required a little bit more of carefulness, because the head was and the neck were so different in size. So keep that in mind. And also the Ellison have like this like Adam's apple shape to it. You don't need to make it, but I am going to see if imitating it looks good. Um, I think uh, I think I'm going to, let's see how it looks. I'm going to turn off the Ellison one and turn on this. The thing is, the Ellison neck is longer than the most of the other necks, so I think that in this case it's not going to look as well. So I'm going to just leave it like this, as the Midlander is meant to be. Now, keep in mind, like if you see how we shaped it, the neck looks a little bit strange, because obviously it has a different angle. So there are some other adjustments that you can make for sure. Perhaps here that I have this part, I'm going to turn off snap, because I don't need it here. But I can like push this a little bit, push this one in a little bit as well. Oops, careful if you have vertices on top of another, make sure that you select both of them so you don't accidentally cut things in half. Um, and this is what I mean by you're gonna have to do a little bit of um, messing around of your own, because depending on what the original shape is and how the neck is looking when you finish snapping the lower part of the neck. You might need to make some additional adjustments just to make sure that the head looks nice, right? I can see here a little bit better that my the head is a little bit more separated than I wanted. So again, because I am attempting to use it properly um, I'm attempting to imitate the skull of the original. I'm going to move it a little bit and maybe a little bit on the forehead. Be very careful. If this is the first time using this tool, experiment with it first, how it moves things, depending on how big or small it is. All right. So with this, you have uh, successfully fitted the head, but as you can tell, it looks a little bit strange. Again, this is because I decided to shape the skull. This is so the hair is going to fit accordingly to the actual face. So I'm going to make some comments on this depending on how it looks in the game as recommendations for what to do after. But right now, in theory, it's done, right? So now I need to go into the text tools files. Since I am moving the Midlander into the Ellison, I'm going to go into the textures, going to grab the FACA, which are the face textures. I'm going to click more options, edit material, copy material, save. Uh, Not necessary to click save in this one, but just copy it. Then you go into the head that you want to replace, and you're going to find the same thing, the FACA, and you're going to open, okay, so more options, edit, and then paste. And now you save it. So now you have replaced one of the parts. The other part we need to replace is the ETCA. So I go into Midlander Mail. I go to the ETCA, um, more options, edit material, copy material, and then I'm going to go again to the Ellison one, ETCA, more options, edit material, paste. Now, this is my quick lazy way to do it. If you check, your normal and your multi will have been copied. This is copying all of the parts instead of only one of the textures. So it's very easy to use. Now, when you have done this, the model that you have is going to be completely broken because you don't have the right textures for it. So don't worry about that. It doesn't matter because now we're going to select our finished head. We're going to select hierarchy, right? Select hierarchy makes sure that everything, including the skeleton, is selected. Then we're going to File, we're going to Export, FBX, and we are going to do these options here. So we're going to limit to selected objects, and then we're going to uncheck Bake Animation, Add Leaf Bones, and Apply Modifiers. Um, Everything else you don't touch, right? So name your file. I'm going to do MIDI to Ellison face, export it. And now on text tools, I'm going to bring it over here. So for this, we're going to have to be careful. Um, there are a few things to consider. Let me just find my, here we go. So MIDI to Ellison face. So in theory, it should already work fine, But it's very possible as well that the if especially if you're changing from one gender to another, maybe the textures might not aligned properly. So to prevent this, we're going to use the open editor option. Please don't select any of the options here. Normally, whenever you're importing something, there are very few reasons for you to use them, so try to avoid that. So we're going to open the editor, and it's going to tell us what each of the groups that we have here are going to affect. So for example, the for you to see it better, we have the face part zero point zero. In this case, the zero point zero is actually the main part of the face, right? The head. So we need to make sure that the zero point zero has that here with the zero point zero has to be face A. This is correct. The main head. Then for group one, this group one, it's the iris only. So that one is IRI underscore A. So that one is correct as well. Uh, Two is the ETCA. So the ETCA is like the accessories, the moles, the scars, I'm not sure the scars, but um like the Ellison accessories, for example, are in this as well. All of the additional parts that the face has that are the face variants. And then three is going to be the Reaper eyes, which is a TCB. So it shouldn't be a problem if you are changing heads in the same gender, but I believe it will be different if you're changing from female to male. So you click import, and there you go. We have our head. So let's try to test it, and I will make some observations based on this that you might have to consider for yourself. Oh, and also hopefully you know how to do this, but if not, I'm going to show you real quickly. If you want to make it into a mod pack, you go into mods, create a mod pack, standard mod pack, and you come and select your face over here in character. So you go into character, you go into face, and I am using the Ellison male is the one that I am changing. So I'm going to select Ellison male, phase 1, select item, all files, confirm, confirm again, final review, and I'll just uh, change it here, MIDI to Ellison, and I set it to basic modpack. So with this, uh, I just have made my TTMP file, and I can check it in the game. All right, so we are now checking in the game, and as you can see, the top of the head is more or less okay for the Ellison hair. However, the sides are still not great, and with some other hairs, you might see that some look all right, but a lot of them are going to look kind of funny because the forehead looks just so big on Meaty. So again, you could go back into Blender and you could adjust the height of the face a little bit. You could make some adjustments to like you could even like bring one of the hairs that are Ellison only, put it on the Blender file, and like, instead of adjusting the hair to the head, you would be adjusting the head to the hair until it looks in a way that you say like, all right, this looks fine and it doesn't clip anymore. So you could still model the face and the head around the hair if you want to use all of the Ellison hairs, um, or you just want all of the already fitted. hairs in for Ellison to work. Or again, if the other thing that you could do is I have a specific hair that I'm going to use with this character. I'm not going to use other hair. So instead of changing the head, I'm allowing it to stay like it was shaped like a Midlander hair, and I am going to adjust the hair that I want to the Midlander untouched head instead, so it looks the way that I want. That is up to you. Now, another thing that we need to address is the face variant stuff is different from the Ellison to the Midlander. So right now, all of the stuff that is supposed to be optional in the face of the Midlander is actually like permanently here uh, because I deleted all of the phase variants and all of that. I did that because I didn't adjust them previously, so the phase was kind of broken when I loaded it in. So I removed all the phase variants, and that was the thing that was breaking the phase. But the phase variants are obviously something that, depending on how your character is customized, you probably want to keep or you probably want to adjust. So, to if you have never messed with phase variants, I'll show you very quickly. Um, the Midlander male, when I go into import and open editor, um, it's going to show me right now the current settings that the phase has. So you would need like somewhere to write maybe. And if you go into the group 0, it might be different for the head that you're using, particularly if you're using female. It might be that the group is group 1 or something like that. So pay attention to that. But in the group that has all of the main parts of the face, you're going to find this like part 00 is not a it's not a phase variant, but part zero point 0.1 is phase variant that attribute FVC. So write that down. And then part zero point 0.2 is the phase variant attribute FVD, and so forth. 3 is not an attribute 1, but it is an attribute 1. It's not a phase variant 1, but it still has the attribute of Mimi, which is ear. So make sure that you double check, like, okay, I do have it in 0.3. That's 0.4. It says excess detail. To be honest, I don't know exactly what the excess detail does. I think it's just for like the way that it looks when like from a distance and stuff like that. So I would still include it as something that you need to change. And zero point 0.5 is also a phase variant that is F V lower score E. Now, the majority of phase variants are supposed to be in the other parts of the phase, which are the ETCA. Maybe your particular phase doesn't have the phase variants in the group 0. Maybe it has them in group 2 only. But check that, because in this case, Midlanders have both. So I will also go into group 2, and I'm going to write down like part 2.0 is a phase variant F, and then continue 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. Keep going through all of these, write them down, and then you will go back into your Midlander already exported phase. You're going to import. Make sure that before you do anything, you click use existing, because if not, it's going to load the previous LSN head, and we don't want that. We want to use the same model that we have here. You're going to open the editor, and then you're going to go through the same parts that you just listed, and you're going to mark them. Like the only one that I added was that 3 is supposed to be Mimi, right? But I will need to go to part one, and I'm going to go into add attribute, and I'm going to select the one that corresponds to uh, the part 0.1 that I already wrote down. And that's going to, take you a couple of minutes, but you need to make sure that all of the parts here have the attribute that the original Midlander face has, because it's going to be different if it's a different race. And the same in group two, you need to go through the face variants. The ones in group one I had already deleted, but for example, if I go here into part five, it says face variant B, but this is for Ellison. So if you don't know how, you can just click and remove it, because I don't want the Ellison one. And I'm going to check which one was the Midlander one for part five, and I'm going to add the correct face variant. If for some reason you don't see the face variant that you're looking for, like it says, I don't know, attribute FVH instead of G, for example, and you're like, oh, it's not here, you can just do custom and type it yourself. So do the face variant, blah, 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 and just type it exactly as it is original in Midlander. There shouldn't be a problem with that. So this is something that you have to do in order to make sure that all of these parts only show when you have selected them. You can, if you don't know how the attributes work exactly, and you wish to like know which one is which, maybe you don't want to mess with all of them. So for whatever reason, if you want to check this, you can do that with an nemesis, actually. Uh, this is basically set together in the order of the attributes. So this is attribute A, attribute B, attribute C, attribute D, and so forth. All of these are the attributes that your character usually has. Right now, they don't work with the face that I have, but you would be able to toggle them once you have already assigned the correct attributes in the import, in the open editor option. And once you do that, it should work. I'm not going to do it myself, because this is just like a little experiment to make the class. um, and it might take a little bit, and this is not something that I am actually going to use. But if you have any problems or any questions when trying to assign the attributes, again, you can message us in Modding 101 in the quick questions, or maybe make a thread so it's a little easier for others to find it, and we can try to help you figure it out. Now, one more detail is you might look at it and see that there is a difference in tone. Unfortunately, that's kind of just part of the game, and in some cases, it's going to be a lot more obvious. For example, I tried when I first experimented with this, I did a female Ellison. Let me actually um, look it up. But I had uh, another conversion that was basically like an Ellison, female Ellison to Midlander, and the result was like, it worked in matters of like, oh, the head looks fine, but the skin tone was completely different. So let me just, yes. So if you see like the skin tone here is just like super stark with the difference of the body, and unfortunately there's not like a set way to fix this. Like, you would have to be messing with the texture um, in order to adjust it to the correct color. um, but as you can see, the original, like, for example, if you look at an Ellison, um, Even an elephant face has that kind of slight difference that you can tell, like, oh, this is the neck and this is the body. Like, unfortunately, the game is a little bit like that, and it just becomes more obvious when you transplant a head to a different body. So I cannot really help in that regard. But you would need to learn how to mess with, I'm guessing this would be, hang on, let me open it. Uh, you would have to go into textures and probably mess with, hang on. In the face, you would have to uh, edit the multi, probably. Maybe you could try to edit the diffuse, but that also comes with the territory of the eyes and everything. So I would say you would have to edit the multi, and you would uh, uh, have to like do trial and error. There's not much that I can suggest in that regard. But at least when it comes to transplanting the face, you would be able to. Just keep in mind where you're installing it, because of course, the head that I installed, for example, it's only for phase one, which means that it's for the wildwood. Um, the the phase that if I wanted to install a different phase for the dusk white, instead of using the 001, I would have to move to the 00, let me see, 100 and 1, right? So the 101 is the phase of the dusk white. Uh, 101, 102, 103, and 104. So check which one you're installing and try to, if you want it to be both the wildwood and the duskwood, you would have to install it twice, for example. But I believe that's it. Sorry that it got a little rambly, but hopefully it gives you a little bit of an idea of what to do and how to do it. And if you have any questions or any problems, just send us a message in the Discord and we'll see if we can help you figure it out. But that's it for now. Thank you very much for watching and take care.